Hello students. Till now in the last video we had discussed about life processes. What do you mean by life processes? What are the different types of nutrition? Autotrophic, heterotrophic, and saprotrophic. And we discussed about autotrophic nutrition, photosynthesis. And today we will start with the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. In class 9th, we have already studied that stomata, the function of stomata is that it helps in the exchange of gases. It is the pore that helps in the exchange of gases, the carbon dioxide and oxygen between the plants and the outer environment. So how does it happens? How does the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata, how does this happen? The opening and closing of the pores is a function of the guard cells that are present in the stomata. You can look at the picture here. The outer layer is the guard cells. The guard cell smells when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. So the guard cells are very sensitive to water. So whenever they sense that the water is flowing near to them, what it does it helps the stomatal pore to open. Similarly, the pore closes when the guard cell shrink. So when it moves away from water, so it shrinks and it closes. So this is how the stomata opens or closes. It basically happens with the help of the guard cells, the sensitivity of the guard cells to water. Okay, now we have already discussed about autotrophic nutrition. Now let's move to heterotrophic nutrition. As we talked about autotrophic nutrition, which makes their own food by themselves, right? And just have a quick recap. A kind of nutrition in which organisms prepare its food by its own with the use of raw materials like CO2, H2O, by the use of chlorophyll molecules like amoeba, right? Like amoeba we talked about. Okay, green plants. So, in heterotrophic nutrition, the organism which depends on other organisms like plants and animals for their food are called heterotroph, and this mode of nutrition is known as heterotrophic nutrition. So, what do you mean by heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition is basically uh, the process in which an organism depends upon other plants and animals for their food is known as heterotrophic. So, and those organisms are known as heterotroph. Like you can see, animals depends on plants. So this animal giraffe is basically dependent on plants. So these are heterotroph. Giraffe is a heterotroph and it is dependent on plant for its survival, for its food. Saprotrophic. Saprotrophic. In this mode of nutrition, organisms obtain food from dead and decay matter like fungus and bacteria. So first was autotrophic, second was heterotrophic, and the third was saprotrophic. Saprotrophic we talk about in this mode of nutrition, organisms obtain their food from dead and decaying matter like fungus and bacteria. We'll discuss about it later. So the most important, now we are talking about different organisms and their nutrition processes. So as we have discussed in class 9th also, that amoeba is a unicellular organism. Unicellular organism is which has only one cell, which is formed of single cell. So amoeba is a unicellular organism that lives in freshwater ponds. It obtains its food by process of phagocytosis, in which it engulfs the food particles by forming pseudopia around it. Pseudopia layer is a layer. You can see here, it is a nucleus, it is amoeba. Amoeba has no shape. So this is the food particle. What it does, it increases it layer and covers itself around the food particle and engulfs it. So this is how the process of nutrition in amoeba happens with the help of phagocytosis. This process is known as phagocytosis, in which amoeba extends its outer layer, that is the pseudopodia, around the food particles and engulfs it, and this is known as phagocytosis. Nutrition in human beings, this is I believe you all must be aware of it. So for the digestion of complex food, alimentary canal is present in the human beings. It starts from mouth and ends in anus. So basically the entire structured digestive system from starting from the mouth to your excretory product to the disposable section like your anus. So from the process of chewing your food to excreting the waste material out of the body. This is the entire process of nutrition. It goes through multiple phases from the esophagus, from the mouth, the esophagus, to then your liver, then the stomach, the small intestine, large intestine, and then to the excretory organ. So this is the entire process. Now, from the next class, we'll discuss about the parts of alimentary canal. So, as per your book, we have covered what are life processes. What do you mean by life processes? What is nutrition? We have already covered it. How do living things get their food? I talked about it in terms of different sources. Plants get it in different form. Animals get it in different form. They are autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is in plants like carbon dioxide and water in presence of light, sunlight, and with the presence of the pigment of chlorophyll forms glucose, oxygen, and water. So, and then what is the function of the guard cells? How exchange of gases takes place? Like here we can see the. Let's study how the plant obtains carbon dioxide. So we have already talked about this. The tiny pores present in the surface of the leaves known as guard cells, which opens or closes depending on the presence of water, sensitivity to water, and then exchange of gases takes place. And then we have discussed about heterotrophic nutrition. How do organisms obtain their food? We have discussed about amoeba, the nutrition in amoeba, the food particle, how phagocytosis, the process of phagocytosis, how it engulfs the food around its pseudopodic layer and engulfs the food particle around it. We also started with the nutrition in human beings. So we discussed about the basic phases, starting from the mouth, the esophagus, and then the anus, the excretive organ. In the next section, we'll discuss about the different parts of this and the entire nutrition process. Okay.